From the crossroads of the Ozarks, it's PID Radio. Welcome, I'm Derek Gilbert.
I'm Sharon Gilbert, and you know the snow's gone?
Yeah.
The pumpkins are out in the crowbait area.
And the sun's coming up over the cabbage farm.
Yes. And we don't live in mansion land.
Rabbit. Welcome, the OGs of Christian podcasting.
The OGs, yes.
The old Gilberts. Yes. Coming up on our 20th anniversary of doing this program.
March 5th of this year, 20 years of podcasting.
Yeah, take that, Joe Rogan.
Oh, yeah, we've been at this a long time. In fact, we occasionally, you get emails saying, we'd like to help you improve your podcasting. And I thought, honey, we've been doing this in the early pioneer days of podcasting.
And it's about, improving.
We were in Conestoga wagons.
Improving your workflow. It's like, no, we got this.
We
got
really
this.
do. Trust me.
Yeah, been doing this since back when we were doing it with tin cans and a string back in our
Well,
day.
we still use tin cans and string. They're better tin cans and higher quality string.
That is correct. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for downloading our app. Get that at our website, gilberthouse.org/app or pidradio.com/app. We try to make it easy.
We do.
iOS, Android, Amazon, Kindle Fire. We could also appear on your big screen if you want to download the Roku, Apple TV, or Amazon Fire TV versions.
We could appear, we could disappear.
We got all of those. We got you covered. Thank you for doing that. That bypasses the gatekeepers of big tech, by the way. And isn't it interesting, big tech, we've seen over the last few weeks, going to Mar-a-Lago before the inauguration to bow the knee, bend the knee to President Trump.
Rodin and
Behemoth.
Behemoth, they were all there.
The Muto, they were all bending their knees. Godzilla's back in town.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Trumpzilla.
Boy, oh boy.
Donzilla.
A lot of stuff to talk about this week.
Well,
it's been a busy first week for President Trump.
His signing hand has to be really getting kind of sore, cranky.
Yeah.
Because he signed a lot of executive orders.
Yeah. Interesting, too. He uses a Sharpie for signing all of those.
I love that.
Yeah. Big black signature. Boom.
Yep.
A lot of executive orders this week. A number of them related to border security, declaring a national emergency at the border. So far, the number of active duty troops at the border has been surged from 2,200 to 4,000, including Marines. And in fact, the first flight taking, just a couple days ago, taking illegals out of the country, sent them back to Guatemala. And Pope Francis not happy about that.
Too bad.
Yeah, well, that got an interesting response from the border czar, Tom Homan, who is the former interim chief of Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. That's ICE, the federal department tasked with securing the border. Tom Homan, who's in charge of removing people who aren't supposed to be in the country. He is a lifelong Roman Catholic. And he had words for Pope Francis, basically, not in so many words, but he essentially pointed out there's a wall around the Vatican. And that if Pope Francis believes what he says, Mr. Pope, tear down this wall. And of course, that's not going to happen.
That's hilarious. But yes, there is a very thick wall around the Vatican, and they're very picky about who gets to stay in there.
Yeah.
You can go visit, but you have to leave.
That's right. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. But yes, it was, Mr. Homan basically telling the Pope to fix the problems in the Catholic Church and stop worrying about the United States of America.
And if you have never been to the Vatican, when you go inside, you have to stop and have everything you have with you inspected.
Yeah. They're very particular about who gets close to the Pope. So,
well, he's not even there. I don't think he was there. Did you see him while we were there?
We did not. We would not have been one of those.
Enough, we weren't allowed to see most things.
Yeah.
Don't look up in the Sistine Chapel. Don't look up. Don't take off your heads.
Okay,
don't take any pictures. Now get out.
You can look up. You have to take your hat off.
That's right.
Yeah, you remember that?
That's right. Oh, yes, you do have to take your hat
They yelled
off.
at Carlos when we were there. They yelled at Carlos because he kept his baseball cap on.
Yeah.
Take your hat off. Yeah, it was.
But don't take any pictures.
That's right.
Really look up really fast. Now get out.
You can buy pictures in the little gift shop, but don't take any pictures yourself. Well, anyway, yeah. So this has begun, the removal of people in the United States who aren't supposed to be here.
I saw a story this morning saying that Mexico is saying, you're not bringing anybody here. We're not allowed. Guatemala, Mexico, not the same country.
No.
Mexico, we haven't.
But look, if these are Mexican citizens who are not supposed to be here,
exactly.
I expect
you will
they will
take them back.
Yeah. And Mexico, if you don't want them coming back into your country, why are you letting them cross your southern border?
Well, we don't like them, and we thought we would just throw some gangsters your way.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's that. There were a number of other executive orders which political pundits have, talked about to no end. One thing about the executive orders. Oh, okay.
I wanted to just briefly go back. One of the things I shared yesterday on X was a Democrat from Chicago being asked about the ICE deportations. How do you feel about that? You're a Democrat. I think he's on the city council or something. He said, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
He said, we don't need them here. We don't want the cartels here. They're ruining our cities.
Yeah, and Chicago's got issues anyway.
Yeah.
But when they declared themselves a sanctuary city, and then Governor Abbott, Rick Perry was years ago.
Refrigerator Perry?
No,
oh, sorry.
That's another Perry.
He was the football player.
That's right. Governor Greg Abbott and Governor DeSantis in Florida started busing their migrants to cities. Hey, where do you want to go? We'll pay for you to Chicago. Great. Denver.
from
Great.
Texas.
Los Angeles. Yeah. So from Texas and Florida, we're busing them to sanctuary cities in the north. So Chicago has absorbed 50,000 migrants in the last 3 years. Oh. And there are photos of them sleeping on the floors of police precincts and also being housed at O'Hare Airport.
Yes. Oh, yes.
In the terminal.
Yes.
So, yeah, you can understand why, even though Chicago, which hasn't had a Republican mayor since...
Ever.
Oh, gosh, Big Bill Thompson in the 1920s. So it's been almost 100 years since the Republicans had a mayor in Chicago. But you can understand why the people of Chicago are upset. In fact, I saw a community protest at Amundsen Park. This was last year. As a kid, I played at Amundsen Park. It was a couple miles from our home. And this was in a time when, go ride your bikes wherever, just be home by sundown. Don't go south Chicago Avenue, whatever. I played youth football 1 year. Our games were at Amundsen Park. So I know that area very well. And the people who live there were just irate and telling the city council member, telling their precinct captains, this cannot continue. So, other people in Democrat cities, New York, Denver, are just not happy with the way things went under the Biden administration.
Well, that's just it. The individuals who are being rounded up at this point are cartel members.
Cartel members, people who've been...
Trinidad, Sinaloa, whoever happens to be here that's sorry, you're a gangster.
Yeah, or
you're
people who've been charged with crimes, even if they're not gang members.
Exactly.
Yeah, so people who've been counting on the largesse of the American people.
And anchor babies are out.
Yeah, although that's been challenged. The ACLU filed a lawsuit before the ink was even dry on the executive order.
I know. That's why when you and I, before we started this, we were talking about Mitch McConnell.
Right.
And I wanted to call him Connor McConnell. Mitch McConnell, who voted against the
Defense Secretary nominee,
exactly.
Hegseth, yeah.
And it was 50-50, so it was J.D. Vance who broke the tie. So yes, that gentleman, Hegseth, is now in. But, we were talking about him, and you said, well, at least he got all of those judge appointments through in the previous Trump administration. Those are necessary now because these lawsuits, these challenges, are going to eventually go to those judges.
Yes. Yeah, the Supreme Court, but even the federal judiciary.
That's what I'm talking about.
Because
the more federal judges, the district judges.
Right.
That's the big thing that McConnell did.
The Federalist Society put together lists of recommended judges, and Trump kind of leaned on that during his first term, and McConnell got those pushed through. The Republicans had a smaller majority during Trump's first term, but because Democrats had exercise what they call the nuclear option.
Oh, yeah.
This United States Senate has a handshake agreement where they can pretend that there's a filibuster taking place.
Instead of actually do it.
Right.
Anybody who has seen Mr. Smith Goes to Washington knows what a filibuster is supposed to look like.
That's where Jimmy Stewart, representing Mr. Smith, Senator Smith, filibusters. He's basically reading the phone directory. As long as you're at the podium and you've got your time, you can just filibuster and just basically monopolize and talk as long as you've got the physical strength to do it. Well, they pretend, the Senate now pretends that that's going on unless you can get 60 votes, which is what's required to end a filibuster. So they just sort of pretend. But if you're not really going to do it, I mean, why are you pretending? Well, the new Democrats, prior to the Trump administration, had used it, and I forget where they exercised it, where, okay, we've got 51 votes, we're just going to forget this whole thing. There is no real filibuster going on. We're going to bring this to a vote. We're going to cloture, meaning, okay, close debate, vote on the issue. And so McConnell said, okay, fine. So when Trump started appointing conservative judges to the federal bench and then justices to the Supreme Court, McConnell just said, look, you guys changed the rules. We're just doing what you guys were doing. So think what you will of Mitch McConnell. Yeah, rhino, no question. Member of the deep state, he probably read the room, and we knew that Senators Murkowski and Collins, who are also Republicans in name only, were going to vote against Hegseth because they're virtue signaling. You know, there were women who complained about Hegseth's behavior in the past. He's now saved, and he openly professes faith in Jesus Christ. I don't know what's in his heart, but that's what he openly proclaims. Says that his current wife has helped him. And all right, we'll take him at his word. Murkowski and Collins were going to vote against him. Republicans now have a 53-seat majority out of the 100. So they were down to a 51-49 majority. McConnell knew he could vote against Hegseth for whatever reason. Maybe he's got deep state supporters. Yep. Or he just wants to spite Trump, whatever. But he knew it wasn't going to torpedo Hegseth's nomination. So Hegseth is now the defense secretary.
Yes. By the way, President Trump also fired 17 inspectors general.
That's interesting. That's a news item I didn't see.
What? You didn't go to my X feed this morning?
I didn't. I went to your Telegram channel, which, by the way, you can join our Telegram channels. You'll find the links in the show notes below this program. No, so I was looking at that, but I didn't see it in your Telegram channel.
I did. It was a reshare of Mario Nawfal. Yeah. Put my glasses on here so I can see, since my right eye is really droopy right now. He fired 17 inspectors general, dismissed from federal agencies. These watchdogs sparked criticism of loyalty-driven bureaucracy, so they are being overhauled by being hauled out.
Yeah, he also ended federal DEI programs. In fact, as of yesterday afternoon, 5 p.m., the heads of the agencies that had a DEI office, that's diversity, equity, inclusion, all of the people who were employed in those offices were suspended with pay on Wednesday. By Thursday noon, the heads of the agencies had to submit to the president lists of all the employees of those agencies as of November 5th, in other words, Election Day, because they wanted to make sure, and this is smart because we see already that there were some agencies that had essentially taken the DEI offices and just renamed them, thinking that Trump and his team wouldn't think about that. So they wanted the lists of anyone who'd been working in those offices as of November 5th, 2024, and the names of any offices and any offices that had just been renamed or people who'd been reassigned since November 5th of 2024. So essentially, and by 5 p.m. Friday, they had to have in hand, the Trump team had to have in hand in the White House a list of how we are going to terminate these people, basically. So diversity, equity, inclusion is being rooted out of government. Now, the question is, how sneaky will some, and how determined will some of these bureaucrats be to try to preserve those offices and those jobs?
Oh, of course they will be.
Yeah.
They're phony baloney jobs. They want those. Also, girls are girls, boys are boys now.
Yes.
XX and XY are back.
In other words, biological science has re-entered the building. It is funny that it's the party that claims it's science-driven, the ones that were claiming that Trump and his supporters were anti-science during the
No, we're actually
lockdowns.
pro-science.
We're actually
Real
pro-science.
science.
Yes. So that is an interesting development over the past week. Now, there are those whose heads are exploding among the pundit class and Democrats, but I repeat myself, who are furious that Trump has signed so many executive orders over the past week. And we will say this is not how the federal government is supposed to work.
But how many did Biden sign on
a
day
lot,
one?
a lot.
It was like 90 of them.
No, yeah, I'm not pointing the finger at Trump for doing this because this is something that really started in a big way under George W. Bush.
No, my point is, why would they point their finger at Trump when Biden did it?
Well, because hypocrisy is not an emotion that registers with progressives.
It's not a reality.
Yeah.
To them.
Cognitive dissonance.
It feels is real.
Feels is reals. Yeah. It's the talk show host Dan Bongino puts it this way. Look, it's not about hypocrisy, it's hierarchy, and you're not in it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what it comes down to. In fact, to prove his point this past week, he played audio from 4 years ago, recorded in December of 2020, of then Congressman, now Senator Adam Schiff, and Senator Chuck Schumer. And both of them were just raging at a news report that President Trump, during his first term, the end of his first term, was considering whether he could issue preemptive pardons to his family. And Schiff and Schumer were apoplectic. Schumer saying, this just shows the kind of people President Trump has surrounded himself with. They're crooks, they're criminals.
But they've said nothing about Biden.
They've said nothing about Biden. Yeah, so obviously Trump did not issue preemptive pardons to anyone. And of course, Joe Biden did. So it's not about hypocrisy, it's hierarchy, and we're not in it. So that's what it comes down to. Now, the reason we're saying this is not the way government is supposed to work, the executive order was intended for the president to issue clarification on how the executive branch of government is to execute the laws, hence executive branch, to execute the laws passed by Congress. Okay, this is how my Department of State will execute the treaty that the Senate has approved with France or whatever. But what I saw really good analysis of the executive orders that Trump issued this past week. And essentially, it's restoring the proper balance of government. What Trump is doing is eliminating the governance by executive order that was taking place under Biden and under Obama, and even under George W. Bush.
I was going to say that very thing. That is true.
Even Bill Clinton started the trend because his advisor, Paul Begala, very famously said, stroke of the pen, law of the land, pretty cool.
But executive orders go way back.
Yeah, George Washington had them. It's just that they weren't used to... George W. Bush began using them to say, here's how I interpret this law, so here's how I'm going to enforce this.
Well, as I understand it, the concept of an executive order was to improve and better run and facilitate actions within the executive branch.
Within the executive branch,
It was not to be a king.
Right, exactly. And that's how it's come to be used over the past 25 years, especially. Again, Bill Clinton started the trend. George W. Bush really expanded on it. Congress passed this law. Here's how I understand the law, which may not have been the intent of Congress at all.
Right.
But it said, here's how I understand it, so here's how I'm going to enforce it.
The executive order, the executive order is published. And if after 30 days, no one in Congress has complained about it, then it becomes law.
And that's the thing. Congress has... And this is why the executive order has become such a powerful tool, because Congress has vacated its responsibility. They're not.
Oh, okay.
Congress isn't doing its job. If Congress was actually legislating, they would not allow the president to get away with this of either party. Right. So what President Trump was doing is saying, okay, look, this is how we've got to go back and enforce the law. You can't just let people run across the border. We've got laws against this. Let's enforce it. And you know, the executive orders issued by Biden, for example, with student loans, issuing executive orders to forgive student loan debt.
That's crazy.
The president doesn't have the power to do it. In fact, the Supreme Court, because this was challenged in court, and I forget who filed the challenges, but it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says, no, the president cannot do this.
Right.
And Biden said...
And he kept doing it.
He kept doing it. He said, I don't care. We'll keep doing it. And of course, that's why it's so ironic. During his exit speech from the Oval Office, he said, we need to respect the institutions of government like the judiciary, like the way you did.
Yeah, you didn't. And don't preach about oligarchy when you are supported by oligarchs.
Giving out awards to
oligarchs.
George Soros, yeah.
Yeah, but left turn. Did you see, again, I shared it at X, and maybe at Telegram too, that Trump has frozen nearly all U.S. foreign aid programs?
Yes, I did see that.
And this could affect Ukraine as well.
Well, it certainly would, because we have sent a lot of money to Ukraine in recent years. And I think putting a pause on all of this while determining...
taking a look at them.
Yeah, what is this really what we need to be doing? Because we send out a whole boatloads of money to countries that are using it in ways that just really...
Well, here's just a very poor example, but it's something that you and I use subscribe and save on Amazon, because there are certain things that we use every month, a lot of dog treats, things like that. But every month I go through them and I determine whether or not we need to buy them that month, and I will skip it. Or if we haven't really used the supply we have and we've got plenty, I'll change the frequency rate or cancel it. In other words, when you have money going out automatically, you need to take a look at where it's going and do you really need what it's buying you?
Right, right.
When we send aid to other countries, it's buying us something.
Yeah, yeah.
It may be trade, it may be favor with a leadership, it may be giving money to your U.S. manufacturers of weapons.
Yeah,
and they made a lot of money.
Well, yes, a lot of that money that was being sent to Ukraine, a lot of foreign aid that we send to Saudi Arabia, for example, is turned around and they spend it to buy weapons systems from American arms manufacturers. It is essentially a wealth transfer from the American taxpayer to the oligarchs, right? So yeah, I'm glad to see that has taken place. The suspension of foreign aid. Let's figure out exactly where this money is going and why we're sending it, and is it really necessary? I mean, again, the American taxpayers are having that money taken compulsorily and then transferred to people on the other side of the world for purposes that have nothing to do with the betterment of the lives of the American citizens.
Well, speaking of things going on in other countries, Hamas was supposed to release 4 female civilians. Instead, they released 4 female soldiers.
Okay.
Now, I'm glad that those ladies are out.
Yes.
Very, very glad those 4 women are out. And I know that their families are very glad. But those who have civilian females who are still being held captive are asking, is Hamas still upholding their side of the bargain? Because they gave a list to the Netanyahu administration, and then they turned around and sent 4 different women.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know. And there have been reports going back almost to day one that the hostages that were taken, about 200, were distributed amongst other jihadist groups and criminal gangs, in fact.
Particularly the younger ones.
Right, in Gaza. So Hamas probably doesn't have control over all of the hostages that were taken anymore, many of whom are probably no longer alive.
Right. By the way, Hamas is reported amongst Arab sources that they had tens of thousands of soldiers, we'll put that in air quotes, who have died. But they have replaced them with new recruits who haven't been properly trained yet. So brand new greenhorn recruits. If the ceasefire goes on, what's supposed to be 3 months? If it continues, it gives time for them to be trained.
Six weeks, 42 days.
It gives time for these to be trained.
Right, yeah. This was a report from some months ago that the aid that was being sent into Gaza was being hijacked by Hamas and then sold to civilians, and then that money used to pay new recruits.
Yeah.
And there are reports already, even though we're only in the second week of this ceasefire, that Hamas has reemerged from the tunnels. They staged a big photo op, video op when the ceasefire was announced to make it look like the streets were full of cheering people, but the drone footage from higher up showed it was only a few hundred. We're actually on the streets. But the fact is that Hamas has emerged from the tunnels, declared victory, and they are once again now policing the streets and reportedly hijacking the humanitarian aid entering Gaza.
Yes, once again. And Al Jazeera just ran a sort of love letter documentary, I guess, but it was really more of a drama about Sinwar and his role in the October 7 event. In other words, Al Jazeera promoting the idea that October 7 was warranted.
Yeah.
And, oh, isn't it great, these wonderful heroes who did this or that. It's, once again, programming a young generation.
Yeah.
Young generation.
Al Jazeera is funded by the government of Qatar, which is where Hamas has been holding up. The former chief of Hamas, whose name is now escaping, Hananiah, was living there. And Qatar is ostensibly an ally of the United States. So why are we allies with Qatar?
I hope Trump cuts that off.
Oh,
because Qatar not only is behind Al Jazeera, they, as you say, they've been hosting the heads of these terrorist organizations, and why on earth were they ever part of negotiations?
Yeah, exactly. And Qatar is also spending a lot of money at American universities to buy influence, as are the Saudis.
The Chinese and
the
Saudis.
Chinese, right, yeah. So there's that. There's a report that came out this week, this reported by the Times of Israel, that the IDF, and this is similar to an earlier report, that Israeli intelligence had seen signs of increased Hamas activity before October 7th of 23. Mm-hmm. This report that came out earlier this week, that the Israeli Defense Forces began receiving reports around 2 a.m. of strange activity from Hamas's aerial division. So the IAF was aware that, and signs that the terror group appeared to be readying its rocket array for action. By 3 a.m., the head of the Southern Command for the IDF was on the line with senior officials, or senior officers of the IDF for a situational assessment, and it was determined that there were 3 possibilities. Hamas could be carrying out a drill, readying for what they thought was an Israeli attack, or the third option, quote, readying for action against Israel in the coming hours, including a seaborne infiltration or attack on a gas rig, an invasion, kidnapping, an extraordinary terror attack, rocket fire, or an airborne infiltration. But it was determined by these senior officers that, now Hamas is deterred, they're not going to attack us. This is consistent with what we've heard from friends inside Israel, some of whom are still serving with the military. They, and the way Avi Lipkin puts it is this, Israel is 60% conservative, 20% socialist, and 20% Arab. The 20% socialists are embedded at the highest levels of the Israeli defense forces, the Israeli Air Force, the intelligence communities.
You cannot advance past a certain level unless you are.
In fact, he said if you're in the Air Force in Israel, you can't fly unless you're a socialist. You don't get to be a general at the top level of the IDF unless you're a socialist.
No.
Judiciary, the Supreme Court, and the Israeli judiciary, socialist. And they hate Netanyahu the way the American deep state hates Trump.
Yeah.
So,
which is why I love Bibi.
yeah, he drives the deep state crazy the way Trump drives the deep state crazy.
Exactly.
So they are of the opinion, and I know this is a conspiracy theory amongst a lot of, the truther movement. Netanyahu knew he allowed it to happen so he could justify going in and committing.
I don't think he knew.
No, that's their point. They only told Netanyahu what they thought he needed to know. Mm-hmm. Just as here in the United States, you had General Mark Milley telling his Chinese counterpart, Trump may be doing something crazy, and if he starts doing something crazy, I'll call you and let you know.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what?
Hold on.
And they told
the
Trump,
Constitution of the United States.
Right, Commander in Chief. You understand how the hierarchy works. You do what he tells you. Mm. Well, that's not what was going on in the Pentagon.
It's called treason.
Yes, it is, and that's not what was going on in Israel. So apparently, again, there are two plausible answers, and I think only two, for what happened October 7th. Number one is that the Israeli military was so convinced of its superiority and so convinced that Hamas was scared of them that they would never dare attack on the scale that Hamas did. Mm-hmm. They're deterred. They know that we would crush them. They'll never get, when you're secular in your mindset, you don't understand what a fundamentalist religious mindset is capable of doing.
No, you don't.
And secondly, again, we don't want to tell Netanyahu because he might do something crazy and stupid. So we're not going to tell Netanyahu because he doesn't need to know. Just like the U.S. military didn't tell Trump how many soldiers we actually have on the ground in Syria after Trump saw a really gruesome video of the so-called moderate rebels in Syria executing people. Trump's like, why are we supporting these people? Get our guys out. And then the military's like, well, we're almost all the way out.
Where is Milley today?
I think he is retired. And I think he's deciding whether or not he should accept the preemptive pardon that was offered.
Pardon for his behavior that rhymes with reasonous?
Yeah, exactly. Anything he might have done beginning January 1st of 2014.
Yeah, and that is my opinion. But, I got to tell you, historically, that would have been called that.
That is exactly what that would have been called. That. So, yeah, it is
when you
disturbing.
Put another country first and not your own country, that's betrayal.
Exactly, it is what it is.
It is.
We need to talk about Stargate.
Well, we will talk about Stargate and many other things, but first, a break.
Jesus declared that the gates of hell would not prevail against his church. But humans have tried to contact fallen angels on the other side of those gates since the Stone Age, and they're still trying today. Arm yourself with information. During January, our special offer features our new books, The Gates of Hell and Destination Earth, co-authored with Donna Howell and Allie Anderson. Find out where Jesus was baptized, why it wasn't where most people think, and why it was a declaration of war against the fallen realm. How the belief in ancient aliens is based on the New Age and occult teachings of Madame Blavatsky and Aleister Crowley, and how Hollywood has effectively spread the ET gospel. Our two new books, plus the DVDs What Lies Beneath, about the world's oldest temple, Göbekli Tepe, and the 13-part teaching DVD based on the second coming of Saturn. This is a $99 value, but during January, it's just $45 plus shipping and handling. Only at gilberthouse.org/store.
Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
Welcome back to PID Radio. I'm Derek Gilbert.
I'm Sharon Gilbert, and we want to remind you that the 31st of January, and that's just a week away, is the very last day you'll be able to order shipment of books and DVDs from the Gilbert House store. We're no longer going to be shipping out physical products. If you want something that we have written, you can buy it through the Skywatch TV store. Mm-hmm. You can buy it through Amazon. You can go through our streaming platform.
That's right, gilberthouse.org/video.
Exactly.
All of our DVDs are there. You can rent them for as little as $3. You can buy permanent access.
You can get Kindle versions of our books. You can get paperback versions of our books. You can get Audible versions of our books.
And we'll have links to all of it. You can still go to gilberthouse.org/store. That website, that link will still work.
And
it'll just route you to, the place to
Armored
get.
Sheep stuff.
Right. Caps, T-shirts, mugs,
Sweatshirts.
swag.
Swag.
Gilbert
Sheep
House swag, PID radio
Get some
swag.
sheepy swag.
So, and also non-GMO freeze-dried foods from Simply Clean Foods. They're freeze-dried. They're coffee. It's not freeze-dried coffee, but it's vacuum-packed coffee.
And it's got a long shelf life
Yep.
if you can stop drinking it.
Yes, there you
Long
go.
enough for it to be on the shelf because it's really good coffee.
So all of that will still be available at gilberthouse.org/store. Again, our books, we'll
Right.
just link to the correct pages at Skywatch TV Store, Amazon, and again, our streaming video site, which we encourage you to use, gilberthouse.org/video, our travel documentaries of our trips to Israel, showing you sites like Gilgal Rephaim.
In fact, you could go with us to Israel in October of this year.
Great segue.
Now, I know. It will not be the Iron and Myth tour. That has been postponed until 2026 because the Iron and Myth boys say they can't go in October.
Yeah, they've got a
because they've
conflict.
got a conflict, and I absolutely respect them for that. So Tim Alberino, Doug Van Dorn, and Dr. Judd Burton cannot join us in October. So it'll be the Gilbert tour.
Right.
Probably one bus. We like to keep it very simple. You'll get to see Derek maneuver using his little stick.
I'm calling this my staff now. Rather than calling it a cane, I'm going to start calling it a staff.
I like staff.
I've got a staff. Yeah. And if I need an extra one, I'll call that my rod. No, rod and staff. I thought we'll
rod
reserve that for the
staff,
shepherd. But this will be my
that's
staff.
reserved for our shepherd,
It
but-
only looks like a cane, but it's really a staff.
I think it's pretty awesome. And that just will tell you, if you have mobility issues, it doesn't mean you can't go to Israel.
Yes. That was the thing. I mean, if you've been following us for a while, and you know that, of course, we took some time off in November and December as I recovered from the surgery for the abdominal aneurysm. The balance issues that led to the testing that discovered the aneurysm have not really improved much.
No, in fact, in some days they seem like they're a little worse. But as with many things, you'll have good days and bad days.
Well, you learn to accommodate. And I know many people have these kind of issues, but this is the thing. We've seen people who use canes and walking sticks on our tours before. So I know that even Joshua's altar, I can make it.
Yeah.
With God's help, I can make it.
You may
And
not
the
go
other
into the
sites,
center anymore.
I'm not
I
going
may
to
not.
climb into.
We'll
I'm not
see.
going to climb into the center of Gilgal Rephaim anymore. Probably not. But
Joshua's altar, we won't climb on top of that either.
Probably not.
But you can go. And
Yeah.
if there's a place that it's difficult for you to access it, many times, especially places like Joshua's altar, we will have a Jeep that can take you down.
Yep.
So you can see it, experience, the talks that we give there, and then you can get the Jeep ride back to the bus. So we tried very hard to make it accommodating, to accommodate every person.
Yeah.
Now, there are some situations where you may think, probably best if I don't go. You can get the travel documentary. You can watch it on our streaming service, or you can, I think we've still got the DVDs at Skywatch TV Store.
Right. And as we wind down the store, there are
lowered the
special prices on the DVDs to reduce the physical inventory that we're going to have to, keep around.
And we're
So you
still
can
going to take
take
stuff to
advantage of those.
conferences with
Oh,
us.
yeah.
But
And we'll
we're
talk more about
probably
those.
going to do fewer conferences in the next few years. Try to stay home and write more. It's like the Lord's slowing us down. My vision makes it difficult for me to write. Derek can see really well, especially now that you're getting your new glasses. And I can walk really well. So between the two of us, we got it covered.
So I'll hold your hand and you can,
Yeah, you watch for me.
I'll watch and you kind of hold me up. And the new glasses, by the way. I mean, 2024 has really brought on some physical things as we've gotten a little older.
It has.
As I've gotten, the last 2 years, noticed that when I get fatigued, I start getting double vision. But thankfully, the optometrist was able to, when I visited him, I felt, okay, I'm pretty awake and alert, driving the 45 minutes into town to the optometrist, no problem. 20 minutes into the drive, I started seeing double. So the double line became a quadruple line.
So you have to close one eye.
Yeah, close one eye, so you lose depth perception. But at least that meant when I was in the chair, I could say, okay, I'm seeing 2 eye charts right now, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to see you today. So he's able to correct that. So that will be corrected going forward.
Yep, I
which
like
is
him a
good,
lot.
because during a presentation, when I'm talking for like 2 hours, as I am wont to do at times, you get to the end of that you get to the end of the presentation, it's like I'm trying to read the Bible verse and I'm seeing 2 sets of notes.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's corrected.
Well, at the end of this program, we will tell you where we're going to be, but you can always find that at the gilberthouse.org calendar. Also, the calendar is listed in our app.
That's
go
right.
to that, and it'll tell you where we're going to be and when we're going to be there.
Yeah, and again, we'll talk about that more at the end of the program today, because we got one that I gotta have to add to the calendar today. Anyway, Project Stargate.
Well, you and I have done a lot of writing about artificial intelligence, and
Yes.
and knowing that Elon Musk is a techie, it shouldn't really be a surprise to anyone, especially since X has its own artificial intelligence algorithm called Grok, and it's pretty good. But these AIs are worldwide. Every country practically is developing something on their own. And it's sort of like the moon race, or whatever race you want to say, where this country is vying against this one to see who can get to it's like almost like the Manhattan Project in some
Right.
ways, except that was super secret. These things are pretty much announced. So it's Trump saying to the rest of the world, we are going to build an AI system before you get it going.
Yeah, and there are a couple of aspects to this. I mean,
and Stargate's a very unfortunate name.
It
evokes
is.
all sorts of things.
It does. It not only evokes the movie, of course, and the long-running TV show, which basically took the Ancient Aliens idea, which, as we show in the new book, Destination Earth, I wrote the section that dealt with the occult origins of the whole Ancient Aliens concept. It comes right out of Helena Blavatsky and Aleister Crowley and their occult teachings, theosophy and telema, and the idea that the gods of the ancient world were entities from another place out there in outer space.
And goes to Swedenborg as well.
Yeah, Swedenborg. Oh, yeah, we go into all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, the Greek philosophers like Thales and Epicurus, there are a lot of influences there. But, well, I don't want to rabbit trail too far down that road. But the bottom line is that Stargate took that concept, created a really compelling movie with Kurt Russell. The TV series was the longest running TV series, science fiction series on television, Stargate SG-1. And then its spin-offs, Stargate Atlantis, SGU, Stargate Universe. So you've got this idea that Stargate somehow is a portal that opens us up to travel to the stars.
And that's what we talk about.
Puts us into communication
in our new
with
book, The Gates of Hell, this idea of portals, physical portals, but also metaphysical portals, in that our free will can open up that kind of access to, frankly, a realm, an unseen world. We have no business doing that. We're not supposed to do that. The Lord tells us not to do that. Yet, the idea that President Trump, who is supported by many Christians,
But I was going to add one more thing, too. It also relates to the Stargate project, which was run at Fort Meade by the Defense Intelligence Agency and Stanford Research Institute in the late 70s. This was a secret Army unit that was tasked with remote viewing, which is an occult practice.
Yeah.
So this is what is being evoked here. So not just the Ancient Aliens thing, but this idea of remote viewing, that we're somehow going to become transhuman.
Well, yeah. I think regardless of who's in the White House, we're going to see it. I mean, seriously, regardless of who is in that White House and what their belief system is, the deep state and the oligarchs who truly do run the world, they're going to move us in that direction. And I can say that with no problems whatsoever, because it's prophetic. The Lord has told us a system will be in place where you will be monitored and you cannot buy and sell. You have to obey the overlords.
Yeah.
Well, that's what AI is going to lead to.
And it's going to be a system that will lay the foundation for the instantaneous reconciliation of transactions with central bank digital currencies or something like that.
And think of it this way. If you and I, again, we've written about AI a lot, and if the idea of a chip that allows you to buy and sell also has the ability to instantaneously connect you to the internet, to a global think system, you become part of a collective, the Borg, then you are controlled through that. And that's one reason that and you may see the world differently than someone who's not connected will see it. And so as with the Borg or as with whatever, there are so many movies along this line that the outsiders and those who are part of the collective hate the outsiders, but the outsiders, they've got the glasses where they can see.
They live.
They live.
Yeah.
That is prophetic, and that is also sad, because once you take that free will moment and say, yes, I want to be part of the collective, and I will worship the beast along with everybody else because he's great. We love him. He's Christ. They won't say, hey, Antichrist. They're going to say, he's our Savior.
Right.
He's Christ returned. He's the alien that planted us here in the first place. He's our Creator. They're going to love it.
Yeah.
But that's the last free will choice you'll make, because I believe something changes in your spirit. The door to salvation closes.
Yeah.
But remember, it's take the chip and worship the beast. So I don't think that anybody will take it who isn't willing to worship the beast. You're not going to be given sneak to this.
Right.
Free will has to play a part.
Right. I know when the pandemic hit, there were those who were concerned that the therapy that was being offered was the mark.
It's still being, I see it's shared.
Yeah.
What if it's in our food?
It's
what
not.
if it's in the water? What if it's in chemtrails? What
It's
if,
not.
what if? No. Free will.
You have
The
to make
Lord
a
has
conscious
always-
choice.
Exactly.
Right. It won't be snuck into you if you are unconscious or sleeping. It's not going to
No.
be something that can be forced on you. You have to make a conscious choice.
Free will. Exactly.
So anyway.
So yeah, that's coming. And I think that naming it Stargate, I hadn't realized that the movie Stargate had roots in an actual Stargate remote viewing. I had forgotten it was called that.
Right.
But remote viewing, if you're not familiar with it, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And it's a form of astral travel.
Yes. Astral projection. And there are those who try to facilitate that through drugs, psychedelics, psychoactive drugs, ayahuasca, DMT, that kind of thing. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Do it.
Yeah. The Lord told Moses more than 3,400 years ago, tell the Israelites, do not consult with mediums or necromancers. The Apostle John, 2,000 years ago, wrote, test the spirits, for not all are from God. There's a reason God was telling the Israelites, don't try to consult spirits in the spirit realm. Don't try to consult the spirits of the dead, which are really demons. So in a sense, spirits of the dead, giants.
Yeah.
It's because something will answer. It's not because it's a waste of time.
Exactly.
So
that is exactly
this program announced Tuesday from the White House. It's not an official U.S. government project, but this relates to an announcement Trump made from Mar-a-Lago with the Japanese investment bank called SoftBank, putting in $100 billion. This was the project that he was talking about. So he had Oracle, the Oracle CEO, Larry Ellison, and the CEO of OpenAI, Sam Altman, who was kicked off the board and then brought back over concerns by other members of the board that he was not really concerned with safety protocols. Microsoft has got to be really upset looking in from the outside. It's like, hey, why are we not part of this? Because OpenAI is powering Microsoft's AI.
I know.
And they promised that this will be a $100 billion investment upfront with another $400 billion to come in the next few years. So they're talking about a $500 billion investment to build this AI infrastructure. Interestingly, the next day, Elon Musk said they don't have the money. They can't do this. They don't have the money. But bear in mind that Elon Musk is trying to build out his XAI. Yeah, I think
Grok.
Memphis is where that is. Yeah, it's called Grok on the X platform.
But
the company is called XAI.
Right.
So essentially a competitor. The White House spokesman basically said, shut up, Elon. But here's the thing. This was a story that just came out yesterday that China announced that its DeepSeek R1 has been released. China's AI, DeepSeek R1, which, quote, outperforms its rivals in advanced coding, math, and general knowledge capabilities, end quote. But they're making it open source. OpenAI is not open source.
No.
Some of it's been released and you can, but much of it is still proprietary. And the whole point with OpenAI, and the reason Elon Musk, who was part of the team that launched it, split was because it became clear they weren't going to make it open source. They were going to make it a for-profit company.
I have a theory about open source. I think it's crowdsourcing. You get other people to fine-tune your
absolutely.
creation.
Yeah. Right.
So China is smart to do this.
Yeah. The way, and they're making it much, much cheaper to use than OpenAI. Again, OpenAI licenses its technology to companies like Microsoft, but they charge a hefty fee to use it. The people at DeepSeek, China's AI, are making it available for like 3% the cost. And this is the way it was described by one tech commentator. Imagine we're back in 2017 and the iPhone X was just released. It was selling for $999. Apple was crushing sales and building a wide moat around its ecosystem. Okay, use iPhone or iOS. And a lot of companies are going for it because the iPhone X was a whole leap ahead in terms of what a mobile phone could do. Now imagine just days later, another company introduced a phone and platform that was equal in every way, if not better, and the price was just $30.
Yeah.
That's what unfolded in the AI space today. China's DeepSeek released an open source model that works on par with OpenAI's latest models, but costs a tiny fraction to operate.
Right.
Moreover, you can even download it and run it free for yourself.
Look. Please don't download it.
No, we're not encouraging you to do
because it's data scraping.
Yes, absolutely. This is why, by the way, we do not ever go to Temu.
No, not ever. And it's why I don't click on links in Messenger or any.
Yeah.
Look, even if it's coming from someone I know, your account, or I think I know, because your account could have been cloned. Generally, you're not hacked in social media. Usually it's that your account is cloned. So it looks like you, same name as you, and you might, this fake version of you might send me a link that takes me to a site that's going to take all my data.
Yep.
I don't like that. So I don't click on them.
No, I agree.
And people still send them to me.
Yeah. And by the way, if you want to go back and we did a program on Temu on PID Radio some months ago. If you want to go back in the archives at our app or at PIDradio.com.
The stuff is super cheap because they want your info.
That's where they're making their money, is on selling your data. So don't shop at Temu.
Right.
So anyway, so this was a bombshell. I mean, this happened on Tuesday, just before Trump announced Stargate. The Chinese said, oh, by the way, we're going to release our AI, which is just as powerful as OpenAI's.
Was Millie on the phone?
Where's General Milley? Hey.
Ow.
So you talked about the oligarchs and the control of they think the control over this AI will give them over society because they will be able to use it to monitor our every activity. This will be a key aspect of the technocratic society they want to build. In fact, it's not, may not be coincidental that Musk's grandfather, who was in Canada at the time, was a member of the technocracy society there. And they were trying to build what they called the technate of North America. they believe that scientists, engineers, and bureaucrats are the only ones really qualified to run government because they can measure, quantify, and properly allocate resources to all
Well,
of
I've
us.
told you this before. One of my first genetics classes, the question was asked, how many of you are going to go into politics? And of course, our hands didn't go up. And he said, I should see every hand because you're the ones that should be running government. Scientists should be running government. And I thought, that's really scary. First of all, true science seems to be dying. And second of all, what?
Yeah.
No. Scientists should be doing science, not running governments.
Exactly.
But the Lord is only going to allow this to go on as long, for so long. It's limited. Its run is limited. The Lord has already put a stop date on it. The oligarchs just don't know. The fallen realm behind them don't know what the stop date is. They're rushing to get as many things done as possible because they know time is going to be out soon, but they don't see the clock.
Yeah.
They just know it's running.
Why do the nations rage and imagine a vain thing? Yeah, and that's exactly what's going on here. So please, our point in bringing to you this Stargate project news and the fact that the Chinese are already where Stargate wants to be. The Chinese are already there.
Right.
And they're making it available to everybody and cheaper.
Don't download it.
Don't download it. We're just pointing out that the signposts along the road, the mile marker, those numbers on the mile marker signs are getting smaller and smaller as we approach the final exit. And that should mean good news. Look up, for your redemption draws near.
Amen.
Be not afraid, Jesus said.
Exactly. That's why the Lord told us in advance these things would be happening. And you'll see these things happening. And then the end. And then my return. Because the question was, when is the end of the age?
Yeah.
And what are the signs?
Yeah. So and I know there are Christians out there looking at Donald Trump and saying, oh, he just announced Stargate. He's one of them. Like, I think these things are happening because the Lord is allowing it.
Yeah.
Does Donald Trump really think that he's helping usher in the end of the age? I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. I'm not saying that Donald Trump is or is not a Christian. I don't know what's in his heart. Franklin Graham said that
he believes he is a Christian.
Right, after the attack in July in Pennsylvania, that he
totally changed him.
That would, getting your ear shot and turning your head at the last moment because you think you're hearing an old friend you've not heard from in years just before the bullet whizzed by.
Yep.
That would focus your thinking.
Yep, an angel turned his head.
But we don't know what's in his heart.
No.
What we do know is that the Lord has promised these things would come about. And Jesus also said, look, in this world you will have tribulation, but I have overcome the world. So be not afraid.
Rejoice.
Yeah.
Consider it joy. I mean, there is just so much. That when the Lord said, blessed are the poor in spirit, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the meek, so they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are so many things. That was a mount of joy. It was the Beatitudes. It just actually means the mount of happiness. Blessed as in happy are they.
Yeah.
And some of that is when you run into problems. Happy are they. Why? Because we are in His hand. And when we see these things happening and we see the signposts and we know that the exit ramp is coming up, do we, sit back and say, well, I'm in my car. I know I'm going to get to pull over soon and everything's going to be fine. No, we warn the other people on the highway. We spread the gospel.
Yeah.
We lift up Jesus. That is what we are called to do every day of our lives until your last breath.
Exactly. And knowing that the end, it comes with victory. That we can laugh, we can have joy while still taking these things very seriously.
We do take them seriously, but we don't do PID radio to make you panic. It's not panic, in darkness radio. We we try to, it's Peering into Darkness Radio, if you're wondering, because we try to see what the fallen realm, we see what the spiritual aspects to the news, the headlines, actually what's going on in the unseen realm, as Mike Heiser would say. But no, Derek and I don't panic over it. We don't want you to panic over it. What we see is the Lord working together, all things working together for good, according to his purposes. Now, when I look at things, I mean, I think that's not very good. Well, that's how I see it. The Lord sees the end from the beginning. He's working it all for that perfect ending. And oftentimes the way it does work out actually is for our good. We just don't see it yet.
Yeah. So sometimes these physical maladies are to get us to focus on the things that we're supposed to be focused on.
Exactly, which is why, segue, we probably won't do as many conferences in the next few years as we age. I'm 72, be 73 this fall, and I'm happy to say that, happy to be my age, happy that I get to still be here and share the Lord with you and share your joys. And, if you have prayer requests, by the way, app, you can request prayer, so download our app. But you're going to be in Canada.
Yes, we've got a number of conferences that we've had already agreed to.
Before you got your staff?
And others that we agreed. And suddenly we looked at our calendar. It's like, boy, we've got like one thing a month for the rest of the year all of a sudden. So
time to say, and next year I'd like very few things.
Yeah, fewer things next year, and hopefully fewer and closer to home.
Do more things. We'll record something for you, and you can play that if you want to.
Yeah.
But we want to travel less.
So, yes, I'll be in Canada for the 24/7 Men's Discipleship Weekend at the Valley View Bible Camp. That's in McGregor, Manitoba.
Are they having cane races?
I don't know if that's one of the activities.
It should be
for men, but
they should have to get a cane and try to imagine what it's
maybe
like.
cane sword fights.
Oh,
that'd be pretty good.
Well, maybe not.
Yeah, traveling with a sword cane on TSA is
I don't think they're going to allow
difficult. No, but this will be February 20th through 23rd. The Valley View Bible Camp's about an hour and a half west of Winnipeg, so I'll be flying into Winnipeg for that and be speaking 8 times over the course of the weekend. I've got my 8 talks lined out. I'll be tweaking them over the next few weeks.
I'm glad you're going to have your new glasses by then.
Right.
So you won't have double
Won't have to close one eye when I'm trying to read Bible verses.
You will probably need to sit down.
Probably so, yes, just because balance is a thing. Mm-hmm. But the point of the weekend is for to bring men closer together with one another, but more importantly with Jesus Christ.
Yes.
And the theme of the weekend is based on the title of our book, Giants, Gods, and Dragons. Recovering the biblical worldview of the apostles and prophets. So my talks will all center around that idea that some of the stranger things in the Bible, but also in life, are in fact part of a Christian worldview. Mm-hmm. And that will include I will do a talk on the modern UFO, UAP phenomenon and the alien abduction contactee phenomenon. We'll also talk about artificial intelligence.
Is there a website where they can?
There is, yes. And it's linked at our calendar on our website, gilberthouse.org, but also at our app. If you go there, tap on that, there's a link to the Valley View Bible Camp website where you can get more information and reserve your spot. I recorded a little promotional video for the Valley View Bible Camp this past week that they're sharing with churches in the area.
Oh, good.
And again, thank you to Carl Teichribb for recommending me to the team at the Valley View Bible Camp.
And thank you, Lord, and I mean this with all my heart, that Derek is still with us to get to go. I worry a bit. I worry, but I know you're in the Lord's hands as you make your way through airports with your balance issues, but you've promised that you're going to get a ride on those little cars.
Get a ride on those little cars.
If you need to get some help, you'll board early. So, hey, there's that.
Yeah, and I get to park in the handicap parking space.
I know.
I'll be getting that permit here this coming week.
Woohoo.
I checked it out. That's in the short-term lot there at the Springfield Airport, but I only pay the long-term price.
Now that is
pretty sweet. So there's some advantages to this. Yeah. So that'll be, again, February 20th through 23rd. Now, a couple of conferences to tell you about that we could not tell you about previously.
No longer embargoed?
No longer embargoed. The Ready Now Expo at Morningside in April.
Oh, I know. is going to be so stellar. If you are in the area, either live in the area or you're going to be visiting in April, please come to that.
Yes, this is the theme of this year's the Ready Now Expo. This is Morningside, so the team from the Jim Baker Show putting this together. But their location for this will be in the chapel, so it'll be able to sit a pretty decent crowd.
No, it's not the chapel, is it? Isn't it in the place where Rick had his wedding?
Oh, that's right. That's not the chapel,
Yeah,
but
no.
that building up there on the hill.
No, this is you go down in the little valley.
Down in the valley and then back up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'll be it's a good place to have it because they've got
a kitchen in there.
Kitchen
it's
in
a nice
there.
big area where you can have tables and
right,
sit.
but they will
Yeah.
also be streaming this.
Oh, good.
And so if you can't be there, you can stream it for just $25.
That's a great price.
Yeah, and admission for the event itself is, as I understand it, Ricky was talking about this on the programs we just recorded for the Jim Baker Show. Basically, you can just show up. So it's free to get in. If you're going to stream it, it's $25.
Please, if you're in the area, be sure you go there.
The theme, the great theme, aliens, AI, and the Antichrist.
Yeah.
And some of the speakers besides the two of us, L.A. Marzulli, Pastor Carl Gallups, and others yet to be announced.
Mm-hmm.
So we are really looking forward to that. That was
Honored
April
to be included in that list.
April 10th through 12th. So we encourage you to check that out.
And the girls will not be with us. They'll be with Aunt Eileen.
Yeah, Aunt Eileen will keep
Groomer,
them.
who always looks after them.
Yeah, and Gloria especially loves going because she loves Eileen's dog, Mona. So Mona and Glory.
Mona's a bit like a bigger version of Glory, more muscle, and a little bit taller.
But Glory enjoys the
they get along so well.
The fun. In July, the Go Therefore conference, July 25th and 26th. Details on that still to be announced. Then, what was the other one that we?
August, Springfield.
Oh, well, yeah, August in Springfield. But we've also got in June, Mysteries of the Bibleverse.
Oh, that's right.
The Mysteries.
In Carmel, Indiana.
Yeah, that's just north of Indianapolis. The Mysteries of the Bibleverse conference in Carmel, Indiana. This will be at the Drury Suites, Drury Plaza.
Yeah,
on North Meridian.
Right,
and
in Carmel. So
this again, like last year's in Cincinnati, will address questions like the giants in the Bible, how do Christians explain dinosaurs, does Ezekiel describe a UFO? L.A. Marzulli again, Mike Hoggard will be back, Mac Dominic, Micah Van Huss.
pray for Mike Hoggard. He's been in the hospital.
Yes, dealing with cellulitis.
Cellulitis, yeah.
Yeah, and I know they had him on antibiotics, so pray for Mike Hoggard.
As a couple of days ago, he was back in the hospital, so keep praying for him.
Yeah.
That's a tough one to knock out, cellulitis.
But there are, there's VIP passes as well for that one, and Southwest Radio Ministries is where you go for that. Again, I got a link to their website in our calendar, and I will. By the time you hear this will be on our calendar. But it's at swrc.com. Look under their events tab. But we're honored to be part of that. And then we've got the Go Therefore conference in July. That'll be in suburban Dayton.
Didn't you mention that a few minutes ago?
I did, just kind of going back through the calendar chronologically here. So we got April, June, July, and then August, the Remnant Rising Conference.
Hear the Watchman.
Yep, Hear the Watchman. This will be in Springfield, Missouri at the Oasis Hotel and Convention Center, August 22nd through 24th.
Yeah, it's a nice hotel, too.
It really is. And they do have a shuttle from the Springfield Branson National Airport. So you can fly into
the Springfield Airport.
It is a nice, small, 10 gates. No place in the parking lot is more than about a 5-minute walk from the terminal.
Right. So if you need to fly, you can get there. There are quite a number of hubs that will fly to Springfield, Missouri. So that's how we get anywhere. We have to fly out of Springfield, Missouri.
Yeah. So you fly into Springfield, the Oasis Hotel. Speakers yet to be announced, but we know for sure that L.A. Marzulli will be one. So like everywhere we're going this year,
he's following
LA.
us around.
We're following him.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. So there'll be more information coming from that, but this will be the Hear the Watchman conference this summer in Springfield. So we've got
all of that going on.
A couple
Plus,
of events
course, in October, we're going to Israel, and we are in the midst of planning with Tim Alberino and the Iron and Myth guys were trying to figure out dates for next spring in 2026 to go to Israel with them. So if you had your heart set on going with Tim Alberino, I understand. He's cool. He's like Indiana Jones with, even nicer, I don't know.
Montana Jones.
Wife.
Yeah.
Montana Jones. That's awesome. Well, Jasmine is the real draw there with the Alberinos.
Yeah.
Jasmine Alberino is so much fun. I
She
love
is.
her. Anyway, yeah, we are probably going to be going late April.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be after the spring
big
holy
holidays.
days.
Yeah.
So anyway, you can always have the latest information at our website. Look for events at gilberthouse.org or go to our app and look under upcoming events.
And I think that takes care of it.
That takes care of it. Tomorrow morning, join us for the Gilbert House Fellowship Bible Study. And tomorrow evening, probably just going to do a discussion on a view from the bunker of Trump's first week. As we have been getting busier doing interviews about our new book, The Gates of Hell, it's difficult to find time to schedule interviews for A View from the Bunker while we're in the process of giving interviews.
Right.
Last couple of weeks, I was on Coast to Coast AM, was a guest, was a guest on the Strange Planet podcast hosted by Richard Sirrett, who's a weekend host on Coast to Coast AM, and others. J.B. Hickson had me on his podcast for his ministry. They've invited me back in March. So anyway, just trying to balance that out. It's probably going to be more, other than the Iron and Myth monthly episodes,
but
of
I
just
also
me on A View from the
think
Bunker.
that we're finding that Derek does better when he sleeps a little longer, gets a little more hours of sleep. And this is just a part your body is trying to heal. So you need to sleep.
Well, there is that. And could be an age thing too.
Oh,
As we are the OGs after all.
You're actually going to bed earlier. Eventually, you're going to, shift over into and then, I'm sorry, I can't have that. We have to have different shifts. So in the evening, you can watch the dogs while I go to bed early. And then in the morning, I get up with the dogs while you get to sleep in a little later than, say, 2:30.
Yeah. So that works well for us.
I got to sleep until 3:45 this morning.
Oh, boy.
I know. I rarely sleep past 3, and usually I sleep just till 2:30 or so. But this morning, 3:45, and the dogs they'd been so good. So they're being really good right now. They're in their crate, and the door is closed. So I can hear Glory still chewing on her bones. So I'm gonna probably have to go and let them know.
Time for them to come out and
you guys stop blathering.
Chase the crows out of the yard and the mourning doves out of the yard. Well, until next time, I'm Derek Gilbert.
I'm Sharon Gilbert. For Grace and Glory, we love you. Bye-bye, everybody.
PID Radio is produced by Gilbert House and released under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Follow us online, Twitter @PID Radio or the PID Radio page at Facebook. Join us each week for our online Bible study, the Gilbert House Fellowship, online at gilberthouse.org.